Meet Peter Parker. Brilliant, kind, and almost invisible, the kind of kid who misses the school bus and has to chase it down the street while everyone inside laughs. He's hopelessly in love with the girl next door, Mary Jane Watson, and hopelessly unable to say a single word to her. Today his science class is touring a high-tech genetics lab, a place humming with the future, rows of genetically engineered super spiders bred to be stronger, faster, and deadlier than anything in nature. Peter, ever the photographer, lifts his camera to capture Mary Jane against the glass. He doesn't notice the one thing that matters. High above the exhibit, a single spider has slipped its enclosure. It descends on an invisible thread, lands on the back of his hand, and sinks its fangs into his skin. A sharp sting. A red welt. Peter winces, shakes it off, and thinks nothing of it. But in that instant, everything about his life has just quietly, irreversibly changed. By the time Peter gets home, something is wrong. The world tilts. His skin burns and goes clammy, his vision swims, and he can barely stand long enough to say goodnight to his Aunt May and Uncle Ben, the warm, loving couple who raised him as their own. He collapses onto his bed fully clothed and falls into a feverish, sweat-soaked sleep. Inside his body, the spider's venom is doing something no medicine could explain, rewriting him cell by cell, fusing human and arachnid into something brand new. We watch him toss and turn through the night, caught between agony and transformation. He has no idea he's being remade. He only knows he's never felt this sick in his life. And when morning comes, the boy who wakes up will not be the same boy who lay down. Peter opens his eyes to a stranger in the mirror. The skinny kid with glasses is gone. Overnight he's grown lean, defined, transformed, and his glasses now make the world blurry instead of clear. He takes them off and the room snaps into impossible focus. Downstairs, Uncle Ben and Aunt May trade worried glances. Their nephew looks like he aged 5 years in a single night. But the strangest part comes when Peter reaches for something on the table and a fine, silvery thread shoots from his wrist, snatches a tray of food clear across the kitchen, and sends it crashing into his hand. He stares at his own palm in disbelief. Then he flexes his fingers and tiny barbs rise from his fingertips. But it's the school bully, Flash Thompson, who really puts the new Peter to the test. Flash throws a punch and to Peter, the fist seems to crawl through the air in slow motion. A strange tingle ignites at the base of his skull, a sixth sense screaming danger before the danger arrives. Peter slips the punch effortlessly, then strikes back with a force that lifts Flash clean off his feet and sends him skidding across the floor. The whole school goes silent. Peter looks down at his own hands, frightened by what they can do. He's not just stronger now. He's something the world has never seen, and he's only scratching the surface. Alone, Peter starts to experiment, and this is where the wonder really takes over. He discovers he can fire webbing on command once he figures out the trigger, a specific press of his fingers against his palm. He practices in his room, sticking objects to the wall, yanking them back, hissing wildly, laughing at himself. Then he climbs to a rooftop to try the thing he's been dreaming about, swinging. The first attempts are a disaster. He fires a web, leaps into open air, and slams straight into a wall, tumbling down a fire escape in a heap. But he gets up. He tries again. And then, finally, it clicks. He launches off a ledge, the web catches, and for one breathless moment Peter Parker is flying between the rooftops of Queens, whooping with joy, the wind tearing past him. For a lonely kid who spent his whole life on the ground, the city has just become his playground. He has never felt this free. But Peter's first instinct isn't to be a hero, it's to be a teenager. He wants a car. More specifically, he wants to impress Mary Jane, and a beat-up old dream of a car feels like the way to do it. He spots a flyer for an underground wrestling tournament, step into the cage, last 3 minutes against the champion, and walk away with $3,000 cash. To a kid with secret superpowers and an empty wallet, it sounds like easy money. He stitches together a crude, homemade mask and costume, nothing like the suit he'll one day wear, and sneaks off to the arena without telling Ben or May. This is the turning point the whole movie has been quietly building toward, though Peter can't see it yet. He's about to make a choice for all the wrong reasons. And that choice is going to cost him everything. Inside the arena it's chaos, a roaring crowd, a steel cage, and a monster of a man known as Bonesaw, a snarling, costumed giant who has flattened every challenger before him. But the moment the fight begins, everything changes. Peter is faster than anyone the crowd has ever seen, dodging, leaping, sticking to the cage walls, evading blow after blow while the champion swings at empty air. He ducks, weaves, springs off the bars, and turns the brute's own strength against him. The audience that came to laugh is suddenly on its feet, roaring his name. With a final burst, Peter pins the unbeatable champion and the bell rings. He's won. He's beaten the unbeatable. And he heads to collect his prize with a grin under his mask, certain his luck has finally turned. Here's where fate sharpens its knife. When Peter goes to claim his $3,000, the sleazy promoter shortchanges him brutally. He hands over a fraction of what was promised, sneering that the rules said 3 minutes, and Peter 1 in 2. Seconds later, a thief bursts into the office, robs the promoter at gunpoint, and sprints straight past Peter toward the elevator. The promoter screams for Peter to stop him. He's right there, he could catch him in a heartbeat. But Peter just steps aside and lets the robber go. Why should I help you? He thinks. Peter has no idea he has just made the worst decision of his life, and that the universe is about to make him pay for it in the cruelest way imaginable. Peter walks out into the street, still nursing his anger, and finds a crowd, flashing lights, and police. There, lying on the ground, is Uncle Ben. The man who raised him. Shot. Peter drops to his knees and cradles him, begging him to hold on, but it's too late. Ben dies in his arms on the cold pavement. The grief hits like a physical blow, and then comes the gut punch detail. A witness points out the carjacker who pulled the trigger and fled. Through his tears, Peter realizes with dawning horror that this might be no random tragedy. He pulls his mask back on and takes off into the night, hunting, faster and more desperate than he has ever moved in his life, chasing the killer across rooftops and down into an abandoned warehouse where the man has gone to ground. In the dark of the warehouse, Peter corners the killer at last. He disarms him, overpowers him, lifts him off the ground with one hand, all his rage and grief boiling over, ready to make this man pay. And then the gunman stumbles into a shaft of light, and Peter sees his face. It's him. The same robber from the arena. The thief Peter let walk away because he wanted petty revenge on a man who cheated him. The man who killed Uncle Ben is the very man Peter should have stopped just minutes earlier. The truth lands like the world caving in. His uncle is dead because Peter chose not to act when he easily could have. The killer, terrified, backs away and falls, and Peter is left alone in the dark with the unbearable weight of what his own selfishness has done. While Peter was becoming something more than human, another man was making a far darker bargain. Norman Osborn, wealthy, brilliant, and desperate, runs the science empire Oscorp, and his military contract is collapsing. To save his company, he tests an experimental performance enhancer on the only subject he has left, himself. He straps into a glass chamber and inhales the serum. It works, it makes him stronger, faster, unstoppable, but it shatters his mind. A second, monstrous personality is born inside him, whispering and laughing. When his own assistant tries to expose the danger, Norman kills him without hesitation. By morning, Norman remembers nothing, but the thing inside him is awake. He builds himself a razor-edged armored suit and a screaming glider, and the city gains a new nightmare, the Green Goblin. Keep this man in mind, because his fate and Peter's are about to collide. Back to Peter. Armed with his powers and a sleek red and blue suit of his own design, he becomes Spider-Man, and New York doesn't know what to make of him. He stops muggers, catches thieves, swings between skyscrapers, and quickly becomes the talk of the city. Needing money, Peter starts selling photographs of Spider-Man to the Daily Bugle, where the loud, cigar-chomping editor J. Jonah Jameson smells a story. But Jameson decides the masked man is a menace and a fraud, plastering smear headlines across the front page and turning public opinion against the very hero saving their lives. It's the first cruel irony of Peter's double life: the more good he does, the more the world distrusts him. He's living two existences now, the quiet, broke kid nobody notices, and the celebrity vigilante everybody argues about, and the strain of keeping them apart is only just beginning. The two storylines crash together at the World Unity Festival, a glittering outdoor celebration where Norman Osborn is scheduled to appear. As the crowd gathers, the Green Goblin descends from the sky on his glider and turns the festival into a slaughter, hurling explosives, blasting a building balcony where Oscorp's board members stand, and sending the crowd screaming for cover. Mary Jane is caught directly beneath the falling debris. And then, in a streak of red and blue, Spider-Man arrives. He snatches MJ out of harm's way, shields civilians from the blasts, and goes toe-to-toe with the Goblin in a vicious midair brawl, their first encounter. Neither wins cleanly. The Goblin, intrigued by this masked stranger who can actually challenge him, breaks off and vanishes into the night with a promise that they'll meet again. Spider-Man has just made the most dangerous enemy of his life, and the Goblin has found the only opponent in the city worthy of him. The aftermath puts Peter in an impossible squeeze. The Goblin becomes obsessed with him, fascinated, even while Peter's ordinary life frays at the seams. His best friend, Harry Osborn, is dating Mary Jane, the girl Peter has loved his whole life. Harry happens to be Norman's son, which means Peter is now caught between the father who's secretly a monster and the friend who has no idea. Peter can't tell anyone what he is. He misses dates, vanishes mid-conversation, shows up bruised and lying about why. Every time he tries to be a normal young man, the city calls him away. And every time he answers that call, he loses another piece of the life he wanted. The film leans hard into the cost of heroism here. Peter is saving strangers he'll never meet while quietly losing the people he loves most. Then comes one of the most famous moments in superhero cinema. On a rain-soaked night, Mary Jane is cornered in a dark alley by a gang of attackers and Spider-Man drops from above to save her, taking them down in seconds. Grateful and dazzled, MJ wants to thank her mysterious rescuer. As the rain pours down and Spider-Man hangs upside down from a web just above her, she slowly peels his mask halfway up to reveal his mouth, and they kiss, water streaming over both of them, neither knowing this is the moment they'll never forget. It's tender, electric, and quietly heartbreaking, because the boy she's falling for behind the mask is the same boy she keeps overlooking in real life. Then he's gone, back into the storm, leaving MJ alone in the rain wondering who just stole her heart. The Goblin, meanwhile, doesn't just want to kill Spider-Man, he wants him. He tracks the hero down on a rooftop and makes his pitch. The two of them are extraordinary, set apart from ordinary people, too powerful to be ruled by anyone's rules. Together, he argues, they could take whatever they wanted and answer to no one. It's seduction dressed as logic, the villain offering the lonely hero the one thing he's been denied, to be understood by someone like him. But Peter refuses. He chooses the people the Goblin despises over the partnership the Goblin offers. Enraged by the rejection, the Goblin drops his charm and makes his intentions brutally clear. If Spider-Man won't stand beside him, then the hero and everyone he loves will be destroyed. The battle lines are drawn, and the Goblin now has only one mission: tear Peter Parker's whole world apart. The danger turns personal at a quiet family Thanksgiving dinner. Peter, Aunt May, Harry, Mary Jane, and Norman are all together when Norman notices something that makes his blood run cold: a fresh wound on Peter's arm, in exactly the spot where the Goblin had injured Spider-Man in their last fight. In a single, chilling instant, Norman puts it together: the masked hero he's been hunting is his own son's best friend, the gentle boy he's come to think of almost as family. The realization fractures something in him. Now the Goblin knows Spider-Man's true identity, his home, his loved ones, every weakness Peter has. Worse, Norman understands exactly how to hurt him most, not with fists, but by going after the innocent people Peter would die to protect. The hunt is no longer about the city. It's about Peter Parker. The Goblin makes good on the threat in the cruelest way. He attacks Aunt May, the woman who raised Peter, the last of the family he has left, terrorizing her in her own home and leaving her hospitalized and shaken to her core. It's a calculated blow, designed to prove that nothing Peter loves is safe. Sitting at her bedside, Peter is consumed by guilt and dread. His secret has become a weapon aimed at everyone close to him. And the Goblin isn't finished. He's saving his masterstroke for last, a trap so cruel it will force Spider-Man to choose between the woman he loves and a crowd of innocent strangers, a choice with no good answer. Everything the film has been building toward is about to detonate on a bridge high above the river. Here it is, the climax, and one of the great superhero set pieces. The Goblin captures Mary Jane and lures Spider-Man to the top of a New York bridge. There, dangling MJ in one hand and a cable car packed with terrified children in the other, the Goblin lays out his sadistic game. Spider-Man can save the woman he loves, or he can save the car full of innocent kids, but not both. Then he lets them both fall. Peter dives, his mind screaming, time collapsing into a single horrifying second. This is the heart of who Spider-Man is, a hero forced to carry an impossible weight, refusing to accept that he has to lose someone. He fires a web to catch MJ in one hand and, straining with everything he has, manages to grab the cable car's line with the other, holding two lives at once over a deadly drop, his body stretched to its absolute limit. Just when it seems Peter can't possibly hold on, something quietly beautiful happens. On the bridge above, ordinary New Yorkers, the very people Jameson told to fear Spider-Man, start hurling debris down at the Goblin, shouting that if he wants to get to the hero, he'll have to come through all of them first. It's the film's thesis in a single moment: the masked man risks everything for the city, and now the city risks itself for him. Bolstered, Spider-Man hauls both MJ and the children to safety, refusing to let the Goblin's no-win trap claim a single life. But the Goblin, humiliated and furious, isn't done. He swoops in, snatches Spider-Man off the bridge, and drags him away to a derelict building for a final, savage reckoning, one fighter determined to end the other for good. In the ruins of an abandoned building, the Goblin beats Spider-Man mercilessly, taunting him, breaking him down, promising to murder everyone Peter loves and make him watch. For a moment it looks like the end. But when the Goblin sneers about going after Mary Jane and Aunt May, something in Peter ignites pure, protective fury, and he finds a reserve of strength he didn't know he had. He fights back with everything left in him and overpowers the Goblin at last. Cornered and beaten, Norman secretly triggers his own glider to impale Spider-Man from behind, but Peter's spider sense screams a warning. He leaps clear, and the blades strike Norman instead. In his dying moments the madness drains away and the real Norman Osborn returns, horrified at what he's done, and his last request is heartbreaking, that Peter never tell his son, Harry, the truth about who his father really was. Then he's gone. The ending is pure bittersweet brilliance. Peter brings Norman's body home, only for Harry to walk in and see Spider-Man over his dead father, planting a seed of vengeance that will haunt them both. At Norman's funeral, Harry swears he'll make Spider-Man pay, never knowing the hero is the friend standing right beside him. And then Mary Jane finally tells Peter the truth, that it's him she loves, that it's always been him. It's everything Peter has ever wanted, and he turns it down. He realizes that loving him would paint a target on her back, that his enemies would use her to destroy him, and that the only way to keep her safe is to walk away and let her believe he only sees her as a friend. He leaves her at the grave and swings out alone over the city, having saved everyone but himself. As he soars between the towers, he finally accepts the truth Uncle Ben tried to teach him, that this is who he is now, that the power he carries comes bound to a duty he can never set down. He is Spider-Man, and that gift will always cost him the ordinary life he longed for.